Hi drummers, Gary Williams here, your Drumset mastermind and creator of the Drumset Artistry Mastermind group. I'm a few minutes late because our internet went down. This group is now over 1,100 members and growing, so thank you all for participating and contributing to this great discussion that we have going on and answering questions. Today in my Facebook Live, I want to talk about drumming and competition. What is competition? Why do we compete? Do we like to compete? Is there such a thing as friendly competition? Well, on the inside, I don't think there is such a thing as friendly competition. I think we've all sort of somehow accepted that competing is the way it is, and I actually beg to differ. In fact, I'm going to define competition. Competition can be defined as a belief that somebody has something that you don't. Well, sure, somebody has a lot of money and you don't, so you're in competition with them for a lot of money. So on a physical level, you could make those kinds of comparisons and probably feel less than, because usually when you feel like you're competing, it's because there's something that somebody's doing better than you, and so you don't feel like you're as good, so you have to really strive hard to keep up with the Joneses, is the expression, or try to become as good as them. And it never feels good on the inside. None of us like this whole competitive environment, and I never enjoyed it. In fact, my first encounter with competition with music, besides obviously sports is very competitive, but I don't really like competition to enter into the music realm, but unfortunately it has. When I was in sixth grade band, we had to compete. Who was first chair, who was second chair, and so on. And I was tied for fourth chair. I just played the snare drum. It was kind of boring. I lost interest, and at that point really didn't care. I didn't have my ego attached to how well I played, so there was no real reason to try too hard. But then when I got my drum set after I turned 12, all of a sudden that's what I was. I am Garey the drummer. In fact, coming up in a family where there was, a lot of kids, there was a lot of competition built into my family environment, just trying to get attention from parents or being accepted by older siblings and so on. So naturally in those kind of environments, there is a bit of trying to get what you want when you don't feel like you're getting it. So you kind of compete and try to go there. So when I joined the 7th and 8th grade band, there was 2 8th grade drummers, and I was, of course, the 7th grade drummer, and there was other 7th graders at that point. And so our band director had another competition. Well, by this time, I got so serious about drums and had identified that that was me. I am a drummer. So I became really competitive about my drumming. And most of it was driven by just pure love for drumming. But I wanted to practice every day and be as good as I could so I could get approval from my parents and from my band director. And when we had the audition, I actually won first chair. I'll never forget the expression of the guy in the 8th grade who kind of threw his sticks down like, what? But he actually didn't play well because he didn't practice. So I kind of got used to being top dog. And whether you're top dog or underdog, it's a double-headed sword to be in this competitive mode, because here's the problem. You become the top dog. Everybody looks at you as like, wow, you're this great person. You play really well. Well, all of a sudden, the insecurities that we all have, having a human experience, you want to maintain this top dog status. So it puts all this pressure on you to constantly be making sure you keep your game on, because if you don't seem like you're the top dog, then everybody thinks you're less than. So I can see why some people who are really in the limelight as performers really struggle on a personal level, because they want to be accepted for their skill set, but now they've entered into this mentality of competition where there's better and worse instead of unique. I'd like to use this analogy to show you how silly this whole process is of competition. If we were to go out to a restaurant, I'm pretty darn sure you wouldn't want me deciding what food you're going to put in your body. In other words, you have taste buds and you're going to desire a certain flavor, and you don't want other people to tell you how you should taste. This should taste good or taste bad. No, you just do your thing. You trust your taste buds. And it can be the same thing in other areas. Like if I was to go shopping with you and I said, no, you need to wear those clothes, that's what you should put on, you would probably go, dude, back off. I have my own personal taste. However, when it comes to our drumming, we will all the time, it seems, compare ourselves to other people. We might compare our fashion to other people. There's certainly a big, huge thing in that. But the truth is we all have a unique fingerprint. We all have a unique sounding voice. We all have a soul personality. We're drumming souls. in physical bodies. So we get caught up into the monkey mind of always feeling like we have to keep up with everybody instead of just being uniquely ourselves. It's really important. I hear this from my clients that they have a jazz band audition and then they have to be the best drummer. Maybe they didn't make the top band, they made the second band. Oh, and that's not good enough. And in fact, I'll share with you one experience that was extremely painful that really helped me understand how competitive I was due to massive insecurity. It's a sophomore year in college. And we had these jazz band auditions, which were just scary. I mean, there'd be like 15 drummers trying to all compete to get into the top band. And the director was loving man, but scared the heck out of all us because sometimes he would put into there an odd time signature chart. And then you'd have to figure out how to play in a meter you'd never played in. Or he would have an extended drum solo in the audition, and then you had to count the band back in. I mean, there was sight reading, there was all this stuff that was really difficult just to be able to play well. And then you were competing against all these other drummers. So I was, again, as a freshman in the second band, tied, with this other drummer that shared the chair with me. And then as a sophomore, the same other drummer shared the chair with me. But this guy was kind of an a-hole. He was super competitive and insecure with me. And I was insecure, but I wasn't the kind of guy that would go after people. I just would stuff it. So he created all kinds of problems, telling the director things about me that were untrue, just being a bully, into where he approached me about wanting to compete and be the only drummer in the jazz band. And the director pulled me in the office and said, he wants to be the only drummer, so we're going to have challenges. And then we're going to do them after Christmas break. So I'm like, oh God, I'm just freaking out over Christmas break because maybe I won't be the drummer. And he was supposed to send me the music. I gave him money because I lived in town. He took my money. He took the book. A couple of days before the break ended, I get some copied music in the mail. Not enough time to really study it. Anyways, I was so frustrated. I thought I had an ulcer. Literally, for a year and a half, every time I ate, I would have this massive stomach ache because I was so insecure and constantly competing with everybody. And eventually with this competition, he let the band vote. And so I would made the decision, if I'm not going to make the first chair, then I'm freaking done with this jazz crap. I mean, I was so fed up with all the anxiety around competing in school to be the jazz band drummer. Well, it went in my favor. The band voted me in, and then he didn't get in the band. And that year he quit and went off to another school because he was so very competitive. But none of this stuff feels good. I hated this idea of always feeling like I had to prove myself. And it's because I had my sense of self-worth attached to my drumming. I mean, who am I if I'm not a drummer? I mean, I really got so wrapped up in this whole idea that Garey the drummer, and people recognize me as a talented drummer, well, because I spent a lot of time in creative loneliness in the practice room, working my butt off to try to grow through stuff. But I can remember seeing this guy named Horacio El Negro Hernandez, this Afro-Cuban drummer, and he was playing left foot clave and soloing. And I went through this, oh my God, now I got to do this. So I spent over the course of 5 years going through his whole book to try to master this because I felt like I can't be quite a good enough drummer unless I can do everything this guy can. And I kept doing this with all these drummers. Now, fortunately, it's afforded me a high level of skill on the drum set and certainly a vast amount of knowledge, but it didn't feel good for a long time. And I'm glad that I was able to work through this. I help my clients who are dealing with performance anxiety or competition anxiety is really what it's all about, because why not just go out and do your thing and be joyful and experience music, because music is a healing. And I'm going to get into some videos where I'm going to talk about the nature and music as a healing and some of my personal healing experiences through music. But the first thing we have to understand is that if we believe that we are less than, then we're going to feel less than because we feel the way we think. So if you have this monkey mind competitive environment, because you've been in environments where everybody says, oh, you got to be the top dog. Well, if you're the underdog, it's a double-headed sword, because when you don't feel you're like the top dog, then you're constantly feeling like, oh, I got to work harder. I'm not good enough. And maybe the top drummer's getting all these praise and accolade and getting all this attention, and you're just sort of standing by looking at him be the rock star, and you feel like the flubby, the underdog. But it doesn't feel good when you're the top dog, because then you feel like you have to sort of keep your game on or people are going to judge you. And I went through this healing process of having to just back away from that whole music scene, feeling like I had to compete with people. I really just focused on being in my own creative band project with the people that I feel comfortable with. And it's really proved to be very beneficial to me because I really, like when I was a kid, loved drumming. I loved music, and I just wanted to do it because it brought me so much joy. And it was later that I entered into this whole mental competition realm. And now as my life has gone on and I process a lot of this insecurity and competitiveness and help many of my clients do the same, I'm at a point now in my life where I really appreciate the way I play the drums. I really appreciate my contribution to drumming and the music world and the drumming world. In fact, that's why I started this group. I actually like teaching more than performing because I love the impact I can have on people and transforming their lives. Because if you think that maybe your spouse doesn't want you to play because you're taking time away, well, I'm going to talk about this in another video, but I've had many clients come to me and say, my wife said, you're not as happy as you used to be when you play the drums, and really encourage them to get into it. In fact, if you take your drumming seriously and become really good, you're going to get lots of respect from all the people in your life. Not only are you going to change your drumming world, you're going to actually change your life because people are going to look up to you as like, wow, dude, you're doing your thing and you're taking it seriously. You're not just living in this comfortable, uncomfortable zone of mediocrity. So you don't have to compete with anybody. If you're going to compete with anybody, compete with yourself. Can I be a better drummer? What can I do today to make my drumming better down the road? These are all things that you can consider, but doing it from a positive, I really love playing, not because I have to or because I have to keep up with the next guy. But if you're into this competitive mentality and you're looking for some solutions on how to reevaluate, to look at things differently, then you might consider private messaging me because I have lots of information on how to overcome these feelings of insecurity and competition and to help you develop your drumming skills in a way so it's a peaceful and easy, gentle process and not this one where you feel like you're battling to keep up with the Joneses. So I hope this information on drumming and competition has been helpful to you. It's definitely a big issue because there's so much competition in the world, and it's not about competition. Music is about community and cooperation and synchronizing and playing together. So if we keep our eye on the prize, which is personal growth and development through drumming, we can have a peaceful journey and actually become a much better player. As I mentioned in my last video, I started doing meditation, and in those 3 months where I was working on meditation, my drumming skyrocketed in ability because I became at peace with myself and I wasn't in combat with myself every time I played with all this monkey mind. What are drummers thinking? What are the other music? Finally got to where I was like, dude, you need to just be you and get your mind clear of all this chatter that's all a bunch of negative programming that you grew up with. It's not the truth of who you are. You came here because you wanted to play. You wanted to have a life and enjoy drumming. So let's get on with the fun part. Loosen up on the competition. Find out what you want to develop. Private message me so we can come up with a plan so I can help you improve your drumming. But until then, as I've always said, and I will continue to say, be nice to yourself, keep practicing, and hang in there because there's always going to be more solutions. Even if you don't think so, well, you just need to reach out to me because I have some solutions for you. So I'll see you guys again on Thursday. Enjoy the rest of this day and keep on practicing. See ya. Bye-bye.